Joining me now is one of the many people calling for Western governments to use their powers to pressure Egypt over this case. Professor of Modern Arab Studies at Cambridge University is one of them, Khaled Fahmy. Thank you for joining us. You've met Alaa twice, once socially and once politically, as I understand it. A couple of months ago, the Egyptian government released some political detainees, but not Alaa. What do you believe the government's intentions are, and why is it that he languishes in now, obviously, a very, very, very frightening position?
Well, the situation in Egypt is very tense. Alaa is one of thousands and thousands of political prisoners, and the government, I think, is feeling or anticipating some serious economic pressures. As a result of the war in the Ukraine, there will be a serious shortage of food in Egypt, and they expect a hike in prices, big inflation. And as a result, they want to ease the tension a bit. So they started releasing some political prisoners, but we're talking about tens of thousands of other political prisoners, and the most prominent of whom is Alaa Abd el-Fattah. So it was a safety valve. They're trying to get some steam off in anticipation of serious economic problems ahead.
What do you think it will take to secure his release?
I think right now the only hope we have is Western governments, because the regional governments that could put pressure on the Egyptian government is not forthcoming. Or Egypt has very strong relations with Saudi Arabia and the Emirates. And as far as domestic pressure is concerned, Sisi has all but quelled all sources of local opposition. So it remains to Western governments to put pressure on the Egyptian government, not only because of Alaa, but because we've seen with someone like Putin what happens when the West turns a blind eye to these dictators who have no belief in the rule of law, in democracy. And when these governments privilege security and stability, it becomes disastrous. This is privileging security and stability on the short run, when on the long run, what we're seeing are festering wounds that and problems that are bound to erupt. And this is not good for Egypt, but it's also not good for the West.
No, and it's, the circumstances that you describe, the, high inflation, high, the impact of the war in Ukraine on the price of bread. I mean, these things are, are familiar to many who know this region. Back in 2010, of course, it was, some of the same sparks that really fueled the uprisings across the regions. You do know Alaa. As a person, what's he like?
He's very charismatic. He's very original. He's calm, and he speaks with a deep sense of conviction and self-confidence. I think he's one of the most original thinkers of his generation, not only in Egypt, but in the Arab world. He's someone with very, very strong, deep convictions of beliefs in human rights and human dignity, but also in human value and in the capacity of Egyptian citizens to actually own their own country and rule it. His ideas about the problems that Egypt are passing through and the whole region and the way out of it are, in my mind, honestly, far, far ahead of anything we see by any ruler and definitely by anyone in the Egyptian government. And I think therein lies really the danger that the government feels about him, because he's charismatic, he's original, he has a way of touching what really people feel and articulating it in a very convincing manner.
He is a dual British-Egyptian citizen, and the British Foreign Minister Liz Truss has promised to pursue his case. Do you believe that pressure from the British government will be successful?
I think it can be. Egyptian government pays a lot of attention to the West, to Europe, to the United States. and maybe the strongest economic links are not with the UK, but the UK counts a lot. And if there is pressure, serious pressure from high up, from the British Prime Minister, from the British Foreign Minister, that goes a long way. And I hope that the British will be joined by other European governments who are sadly in cahoots with this criminal regime. They sell weapons, they sell money, and basically they lend Egypt enormous amounts of money that do not go for the benefit of the Egyptian government, the Egyptian people. So I think if the British are joined by the US and also by other European powers, then this can go a long way to releasing Alaa soon, because time is of the essence.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. We will be right back.